Good morning, guys. It's your girl, Miss G, and you know what time it is. It's G time. It's time to get up, get active, and get it together. We are on day 3 of the Reflection Journal Challenge, and I hope that you are enjoying it. Today's challenge and question is: what are the major changes that you made from last year? And so I hope that you did yesterday. I hope you did day 2 because day 2 is going to help you with day 3. Day 2, we got more in depth into looking at some of the positive changes that we made. It was all about giving ourselves credit and not criticizing ourselves, but actually looking at some of the ways in which we may have made some changes. And so to go back into day 2, we were focusing on emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, social, financial growth and any other areas that you wanted to add into that. That emotional growth should look like being able to identify my emotions, being able to respond instead of react, using healthy coping skills during difficult times, reaching out for help, using effective communication when addressing problems, when addressing issues, not making excuses, and really looking into some of the issues, not just sugarcoating it, not just throwing it under the rug, but really becoming emotionally mature in how I respond and what I do. Look at some of those things in your life. Look and see if you made some of those changes there. Then that mental growth. There's a saying that knowledge is power. I am always looking to learn something new because I love learning. I love looking into things and researching them and knowing what it is. Um, that mental growth can also look like learning how to deal with stress, managing depression and anxiety, not just, again, throwing it, putting it under the rug, or saying, positive quotes to try to change the situation without doing the work, but actually putting in the work to change what the problem is. Again, that mental growth can look like seeking a mental health professional. That can look like really working on my mental health in ways that I've never worked on them before. Enriching your mind, thinking more critically, not just mindless scrolling on social media and watching TikToks and reels all day, but actually using some critical thinking last year, putting some things into play and to work to help set you up for this new year. That physical growth, exercising, taking a walk, changing the way you eat, being mindful of your nutrition, um, replacing unhealthy habits with healthy habits, learning to meditate, relax, take deep breaths, really focusing on ways that your body can improve. That physical change is important. I'm going to tell you, that was one of my major changes, even though I'm not on day 3 yet. That was one of my biggest changes through all of this. Then we had the spiritual growth. And I'm not talking about just showing up to church every Sunday and repeating the same scriptures and doing the same thing over and over. I'm talking about actually applying what you learn. I'm talking about showing up, listening to the scriptures, and putting it into play. You know how we can be sometimes. We go to church, we have a great time, we're singing, we're praising, and we walk out and do the same things that we were doing before we got in church. No, I'm talking about spiritual growth, applying what you have learned to your life, to your day to day life. Did you increase your prayer habits? Were you more mindful of the people around you? Were you connecting with people who are like minded? Another area of spiritual growth that I looked into was being able to accept people for who they are. That doesn't mean agreeing with maybe their choices, but accepting people and their differences. That is a true growth. Not just shutting people down because they don't believe what you believe or because they don't do what you do, but actually operating in what that love looks like and loving people for who they are and not what we want them to be. Did you have any areas of growth in that area? And then we come to financial, right? Making smarter choices with our money. Were we just spending frivolously? Oh my God, I can't even say the word today. Were we just spending all willy nilly? Or were we actually being mindful about where we were putting our money? Were we being intentional about what we were doing with our money and our finances? Were we investing? Were we saving? What were you doing with your finances this year? Are you in a better place than you were last year? Or are you looking at your finances like, doggone it, I am in a worse place than I was last year? Let's look at the little steps, baby steps. And I don't even want to call them little steps because steps are steps. Have you ever not been able to walk? I have. And a step is a step. Don't call my step a little step. Anytime that I've been able to put one foot in front of the other and that motion starts to move, it's a step. So we can just X that word out when we say little or just. If you made some changes, change is change. Progress over perfection. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for progress. And again, it's not about criticizing ourselves. It's about giving ourselves credit. Like, you know what? If I saved $20 more than I saved the previous year, then I made some progress. It may not look like much to somebody else, but maybe that $20 was all I had, and I held on to it for the remainder of the year because I was determined to save something. Don't beat yourself up. Don't look at, but I could have done better. We all could do better. The reality is there's always room for improvement. But if you don't give yourself credit right now where you are, then how can you even see the improvement? Because you're beating yourself up every moment of the day. So give yourself credit. That last one that I had up was social, creating social support for yourself. That was another major change in my life. And just not trying to do things alone, but actually creating healthy and meaningful relationships. I'm not talking about the dead end relationships where we really don't see any growth, those surface based relationships where it's hi, bye, how you doing, good, all right, see ya. You know, those associate type relationships. I'm talking about meaningful relationships where you actually can trust another person. Trust is a big thing, and oftentimes people misuse our trust. They abuse our trust. And so we keep our guards up, we keep our walls up because we have been hurt before. Being able to grow is taking into account that not everybody is going to screw us over the same way that somebody else did. But learning from our previous relationships and learning how to apply healthy boundaries and healthy coping skills to create the relationships and the support systems that we need in our life in order to grow. Look at your social growth and just see, did I grow? If you had one friend that you talked to this year or last year that really you guys experienced a growth in your relationship or growth in your connection and y'all rocked with each other the whole year, that's growth. Look at it that way. I grew with someone last year, realizing that not everyone's for me, not every place is for me, not every relationship that I am in is a healthy relationship. Being able to determine that this is good, this is not good, and making some choices behind that. Like, you know what? I don't feel like I'm pleased in this relationship. I find myself more drained than fulfilled. I find myself more angry than excited. I find myself more um trying to get away from this person than engaging with this person. So I made the changes that I needed to make because I knew that it was going to benefit me in the long run. That's big. That's a big step because not all of us really learn how to walk away from relationships or people who may not be for us. Sometimes we learn to stick it out and to just take people for who they are. There's nothing wrong with accepting people for who they are, but it doesn't mean that you can't set a boundary in that and create some space for your own mental health and your own well-being. So those were the areas that we looked at yesterday. That's why I'm telling you that yesterday was important. Yesterday was an important factor in this journal reflection because you're going to look at those areas and you're going to apply it to today. What are the major changes that I made last year? When I look at what I wrote down yesterday, physical, spiritual, social, financial, I saw some growths. And again, they may not have been this grandiose kind of like changes. You know, I didn't buy a house last year. I didn't Oh, I did buy a car last year. We went from one car to two cars. Thank you, Jesus. Let me tell you, it was rough having a five having five people in our family in one car, meaning I drive everyone around to where they need to be, work, three different schools, and try to work on my own. Goodness gracious, that was one of the major changes last year. And when I say I saw some peace, I was like, oh God, thank you. I don't have to get up as early as I have been getting up. I don't have to sit in the car for 4 hours at a time because, yes, when you have three kids in three different schools, they get out at three different times, which means you are in a car. That was a change and it felt great. Now, granted, I didn't buy some luxury car that had all of the cool stuff in it. I bought a reasonable car that gets me from point A to point B. It's pretty, it's pretty snazzy. Is that a good word? No. It's cute. It fits me and we get to where we need to go. That was a good change for us last year. One of the other major changes that I made was walking away from places and people that weren't for me. And it was a hard decision. It really was because I have grown up in a place where you give people the benefit of the doubt. You try to work things out as much as you can and you show up. And I am a person that shows up. I like to do, I like to help, I like to be around, I like to be connected to people. But there are just certain places and people that just weren't for me. And the harder I tried to make it work for me, the harder it became. And so coming to the realization that this just isn't for us anymore. It was a hard decision, but we did it. We made the changes necessary and we found the peace that we needed in those decisions. That was a big change for us last year. And honestly, as we move into this new year, it's finding the place that's for us. It's finding the people that's for us. It's making those new connections with people in our new environment that can benefit us. It's not an easy task. I may be friendly and I may be, a very talkative person and I go up to people and have conversations, but it doesn't mean that I trust everybody and that I'm just willing to open new relationships with people that I don't know. It takes time to grow into relationships. And so that's what I'm looking forward to this year is building new relationships, building new connections, and really putting into place the healthy support system that my family needs as we continue to grow. So I saw some changes last year. I saw them in all of those areas, but the major changes were physical, social, emotional. I'm gonna probably name all of them again. I can probably choose a major change in each of those categories last year. And again, it doesn't have to be some big giant change. It was a change, and it was a change that I know is going to benefit me in this 2023. Let's look at what we're doing. Let's reflect. That way we can get ready for this vision board party that we're going to have because I want your vision to to be clear. I don't want you to say, I need to do the same thing that I put last year because I didn't accomplish nothing. Yes, you did. I know you accomplished something. You know you accomplished something. You may not just be seeing it. So I really want us to go deep into let me look at how I made some changes last year. You have the power to create change. It's day 3, y'all. I'll see you tomorrow. Be blessed.